There's a moment, rare and almost sacred, when the world stops humming. The traffic fades, the screens dim, the pulse of the city dissolves into something quieter than sound itself. It's not peace, it's not rest, it's the raw vibration of absence, the kind that makes you realize how much noise you've been carrying inside. We live surrounded by voices, messages, signals, yet silence has become foreign to us. We avoid it like a threat, because silence is honest. It reflects everything we've been running from: our fears, our emptiness, the echo of lives lived too fast to be felt. This silence isn't empty, it's dense. It holds the weight of every unsent message, every thought left unfinished, every moment that passed before we could notice it was beautiful. Silence exposes the paradox of our age. We built a world so loud that we can't even hear ourselves anymore. And yet beneath the chaos there's a pulse, a soft, almost imperceptible rhythm waiting to be heard. The first sound of silence is not the absence of noise. It's the beginning of awareness. It's the sound of coming back to yourself. The city never sleeps, but it no longer dreams. It hums with the rhythm of engines, the static of conversations that never reach meaning, the endless pulse of screens reflected in glass towers. Each window flickers with another story. Someone scrolling, someone waiting, someone pretending to be awake. You walk through streets where light replaces the sun and sound replaces thought. Everything is speaking, yet nothing is being said. The air vibrates with advertisements and half-heard music from cars passing by. Even the wind seems rehearsed, programmed to move dust instead of souls. This is the city that forgot to listen. It moves faster than feeling, louder than memory. It once carried echoes of laughter, footsteps, prayers, but those have been replaced by notifications, vibrations, and the dull whisper of digital rain. We call this connection. But no one is really hearing anyone anymore. We speak in signals, we listen in delay. The city has built walls made not of concrete, but of indifference. And somewhere in the distance, between a siren and a heartbeat, you can almost hear what it lost. The quiet voice of meaning, still trying to reach through the noise. You start to notice it, the transparency in people's eyes. Everyone's reflecting something, but no one is really showing what's inside. We've become translucent, visible, yet unreadable, illuminated by the glow of screens instead of the warmth of truth. We live in a time where we reveal everything and communicate nothing. Every smile feels rehearsed, every post a filtered confession. We say we're fine because that's what the world expects to hear. But behind each sentence there's a silence that trembles, a story untold. We are people made of glass, fragile, reflective, easily shattered by the weight of being seen but not understood. We crave connection, yet fear exposure. We build transparency as armor, not vulnerability. So we keep our fractures hidden beneath layers of light, pretending it's all clarity when it's really camouflage. In the reflection of others, we no longer see faces. We see projections of ourselves, refracted through algorithms and insecurities. The tragedy isn't that we broke, it's that we learned to live beautifully broken and called it normal. There's a kind of noise that doesn't come from outside. It hums beneath the skin, between thoughts, in the pauses of our own breathing. It's the static of unfinished emotions, the sound of everything we've avoided feeling. We scroll to escape it, work to drown it out, talk just to fill the silence. Yet the more we try to outrun it, the louder it becomes. It's not the city anymore that's deafening us. It's our own minds, crowded with echoes. Each notification triggers a pulse, a small hit of relevance, a fleeting assurance that we still exist. But when the glow fades, the noise returns. Thoughts spiral, doubts repeat. The brain becomes a restless city of its own, lit, loud, sleepless. This inner noise is subtle, almost polite. It whispers that you're behind, that you should be more, that peace is something you'll earn when the list is finally done. But that list never ends, and peace never comes. Until one day, you stop. Not because you want to, but because you can't go any further. And in that exhaustion, you begin to realize the noise was never the enemy. It was the language of your soul, begging to be heard. We have never been so connected, and never felt so alone. It's the great contradiction of our time. Billions of voices overlapping, yet no one truly listening. The internet promised communion, but what we built instead was a cathedral of isolation. Every message, every story, every image we share is a signal sent into the void, hoping for resonance. We count hearts, not heartbeats. We trade presence for visibility. We confuse the glow of attention with the warmth of love. We used to write letters that took days to arrive. Now we can reach anyone in seconds. Yet the silence between replies feels longer than ever. Because deep down, we're not searching for communication. We're searching for recognition, for that fleeting proof that someone out there still feels what we feel. Connection has become performance. Intimacy outsourced to platforms. Vulnerability compressed into captions. And the more we connect, the more we fragment. The paradox tightening like a wire around the human heart. Maybe that's why the screen feels both comforting and cruel. It gives us the illusion of closeness while keeping us perfectly apart. Every time you unlock the screen, it doesn't just open to the world. It opens to you. Not the real you, but the one carefully constructed through pixels and poses, crafted to appear effortless. You stare, adjust, delete, repeat, until what looks back feels safer than the person behind it. The screen has become our modern mirror, and like all mirrors, it flatters and distorts. It reflects what we want to be, not what we are. It shows the surface of a life, not its texture. It polishes identity until it shines too brightly to be true. And yet we keep returning to it, hoping to recognize ourselves again. But reflection has become performance. Recognition has become measurement. Each image, each post, each filtered fragment adds another layer between who we show and who we hide. Sometimes late at night, when the blue light hits your face just right, you can see the truth. The tired eyes behind the glow, the quiet ache that no filter can erase. That's when you realize the mirror isn't lying. It's showing exactly what we've become. People who need reflection to remember they exist. We are told that everything is moving forward, that every update, every innovation, every new beginning is proof that we are advancing. Yet, when you stop and look closely, the horizon hasn't moved. We're running faster, but going nowhere. We measure our lives through metrics, followers, achievements, productivity streaks, as if meaning could be quantified. Progress has become the new faith, and speed its sacred ritual. But what have we gained? A world that rewards exhaustion and calls it success. A culture that praises motion even when it leads in circles. The illusion of progress comforts us because it hides the emptiness underneath. It tells us that as long as we're moving, we're alive. But inside, something grows quieter each day. The voice that once asked why. We upgrade everything but ourselves. We build smarter cities, yet lonelier hearts. We create machines that think, but forget how to feel. And when night comes, surrounded by all this progress, we still stare at the same ceiling, wondering if any of it truly changed us. Real progress doesn't move forward, it moves inward. But that's the one direction our maps forgot to draw. Look closely at the skyline. Every light you see is a dream that refused to rest. The towers rise like monuments to ambition, steel and glass stitched together by sleeplessness. Beneath them, people move like circuitry, chasing meaning through the endless current of the city night. We were taught that ambition is purpose, that rest is surrender. So we built cities that never close their eyes, where cafes glow at 3 a.m., where time is currency, and sleep feels like weakness. But under the hum of progress lies something fragile, a quiet ache we no longer acknowledge. The city feeds on our momentum. It rewards those who keep moving, who never question where they're going. But every dream left unpaused becomes a ghost, haunting the alleys, trapped between what was wanted and what was lost. You can feel it in the air, the hum of caffeine, the static of anxiety, the echo of footsteps that don't know when to stop. This is the empire of the restless. And yet, if you stand still long enough, you'll see it. The cracks between the lights, the spaces where silence still breathes. The city may never sleep, but some of its dreams are already awake, wondering what all this effort was really for. There's a peculiar kind of loneliness that only exists when you're surrounded by connection. You open your phone and there they are, hundreds of names, faces, timelines, an entire world living inches from your fingertips. Yet the more you scroll, the further away everyone feels. We've built a digital neighborhood where no one opens their doors. Every message is a knock that might never be answered. Every scene becomes a ghost of a conversation that never happened. We're surrounded by presence, but starved of touch. Loneliness with Wi-Fi feels different from the old kind. It's quieter, more deceptive. It hides beneath the illusion of belonging. You're never truly alone, but you're never truly with anyone either. We've replaced voices with vibrations, warmth with light, connection with the performance of being connected. We used to look at stars to feel less alone. Now we look at screens, and both shimmer with a distance we can't quite cross. Because what we crave isn't attention, it's presence. And presence can't be downloaded. At night, the streets glow with a strange kind of light. Not from the lamps above, but from the hands below. Faces illuminated by screens, eyes reflecting movement, fingers flicking through endless digital corridors. From a distance, we look like ghosts, shadows scrolling through fragments of other people's lives. You can see it on the train, in cafes, in bedrooms lit by pale blue light. The same choreography repeats: scroll, pause, sigh, continue. Our thumbs move faster than our hearts. Each flick is a search for something we can't quite name. A glimpse of beauty, a distraction from thought, a reason to keep going. The screen offers comfort, control, choice, familiarity. But behind that glass, we're dissolving. Our stories flattened into pixels. Our emotions compressed into seconds of visibility. We've traded presence for participation, attention for validation. And yet beneath the scrolling, there's a quiet fear that if we stop, even for a moment, the silence will reveal how hollow this motion has become. So we keep scrolling, as if meaning might appear on the next swipe. But meaning doesn't scroll. It waits. Every city is a body, and every building is a memory it no longer remembers. We walk through its veins, corridors of glass, escalators humming like mechanical heartbeats. Yet nothing here feels alive. The architecture is beautiful, yes, but hollow. Spaces designed for movement, not meaning. Airports, shopping centers, apartments stacked like storage for human lives. They all share the same silence, the kind that hums beneath artificial light. You can stand in a crowd and feel the absence more than the presence. It's not that the world is empty, it's that we've built it to be. We create places optimized for comfort and efficiency, but stripped of intimacy. Every surface polished, every imperfection erased. And in the process, we've erased something essential: the texture of being human, the randomness, the dirt, the echo of laughter in an unfinished room. This is the architecture of emptiness, a perfection so clean it can't hold a soul. We've learned to live in spaces that never touch us, surrounded by beauty that doesn't breathe. And sometimes when the elevator doors close and the reflections align just right, you can almost see it, yourself multiplied, vanishing into the symmetry. There's a strange kind of timelessness in the digital age. We live surrounded by clocks, yet we've lost all sense of time. The day bleeds into night, the week dissolves into the next. Hours vanish between tabs, between feeds, between the brief illusion that we're doing something meaningful. We no longer wait for anything. Everything arrives instantly, except fulfillment. The faster the world moves, the slower we feel inside. We refresh, reload, repeat, but the progress bar never reaches completion. It's as if time itself has become a loop, an infinite scroll of moments that never quite arrive. The digital clock blinks, numbers change, but nothing truly moves. Memory drifts. We remember fragments, an image, a line of text, a voice message at 2 a.m., but not the story they belong to. The present stretches, bends, folds back on itself. We are always online, never truly now. And when we finally look up, it's not that time has disappeared. It's that we've stopped belonging to it. The clock still ticks, but it no longer measures life. It measures distraction. They linger in forgotten corners of the cloud, old messages, silent profiles, archived photos frozen in time. We scroll past them without thinking, unaware that each pixel carries a trace of someone who once existed in motion. These are the digital ghosts of our age. They do not haunt in the traditional sense. They appear as memories that never age, voices that never fade, faces that never change. We can visit them whenever we want. Open a chat that ended years ago, play a voicemail from someone who's gone, reread words written by a version of ourselves we no longer recognize. Technology gave memory a body, but it also stole its mercy. Nothing truly disappears anymore. Every moment, every thought, every love we tried to bury is still out there, suspended in electric light, waiting to be remembered. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, curiosity wins. You open an old conversation, and the silence feels heavier than it should, because deep down you realize what we've built is not an archive, it's an afterlife, and every click is a seance. Light was once a sign of life, a sunrise over water, a candle flickering against the dark. Now it's everywhere, relentless and artificial. The blue glow of screens, the white buzz of advertisements, the sterile hum of LEDs that never rest. We live illuminated, yet blinded. The city no longer sleeps because its lights refuse to let it dream. Every surface reflects, every window gleams, every corner hums with energy that never fades. We've conquered darkness so completely that we've forgotten what it feels like to be still inside it. This constant brightness exhausts more than the eyes. It drains the soul. When everything is visible, nothing feels sacred. When nothing fades into shadow, mystery dies. Light was meant to guide, but now it exposes. It strips things of depth, leaving them flat, too clear, too sharp to feel alive. And yet, somewhere beneath this glare, our minds crave dimness, a place where thought can unfold without interruption. The irony is cruel. We created light to escape fear, but now it hides the only thing that could heal us, the beauty of the dark. There's a quiet unease in realizing that the machine knows you too well. It finishes your sentences, predicts your desires, decides what you see before you even know what you're looking for. It listens, not with empathy, but with precision, and in its silence, it studies you. Every click, every pause, every hesitation becomes data, a reflection of patterns deeper than thought. What once felt spontaneous is now mapped, predicted, monetized. The algorithm doesn't just track what you do, it shapes who you become. It whispers suggestions that feel like choices, feeding you fragments of yourself until you forget where the echo started. We used to believe identity was sacred, untouchable, a mystery even to ourselves. Now it's a data set, constantly refined, perpetually observed, a mirror built of numbers, reflecting not the soul, but its statistics. And yet, there's something almost divine in its design, a mechanical god made of attention, measuring our worth by engagement. The tragedy isn't that it manipulates us. It's that we've begun to trust it more than our own intuition. We have given our silence to machines, and in return, they've given us the illusion of understanding. But the soul was never meant to be optimized. Touch used to mean something. The warmth of another hand, the pulse beneath a wrist, the quiet gravity of presence. Now, connection has been redefined, compressed into gestures that never make contact, a double tap instead of a glance, a message instead of a heartbeat. We've learned to love through glass, to express feeling through symbols, to translate intimacy into bandwidth. The screen has become a bridge and a barrier. We reach across it, but the distance remains. There's no breath, no weight, no trembling pause between words, only the illusion of closeness. Somewhere between pixels and flesh, something essential was lost. The electricity of being near, the language of silence between two people. We are more accessible, but less available, more connected, but harder to reach. And yet, the body remembers. Even when surrounded by signals and screens, it aches for the warmth of what's real. for the uneven, unpredictable human rhythm of touch. Because nothing digital can replace the tremor of presence. Nothing artificial can recreate the fragile miracle of two lives colliding in the same moment of time. If you listen carefully, you can almost hear them. The emotions we used to feel in full color, now reduced to faint memories behind glass. We've become curators of our own hearts, displaying fragments of what once moved us: joy, grief, tenderness, awe. Each one labeled, cataloged, archived for reference but never revisited. We no longer feel emotions, we remember them. We scroll through old messages to remember love, replay songs to recall sadness, revisit moments not to relive them, but to prove they happened. The rawness of experience has been replaced by its documentation. Emotion now is aesthetic. The museum grows every day. Shelves filled with screenshots, playlists, and memories embalmed in digital amber. We've built an archive of ourselves so complete that we've forgotten how to live outside of it. We remember everything, but feel nothing fully. In this quiet exhibition of the self, each heart is both the artist and the artifact. And somewhere between nostalgia and numbness, we begin to understand. The greatest tragedy of modern life isn't forgetting, it's remembering too well. We once looked out at the world to discover who we were. Now, we look into reflections of our own voices bouncing endlessly back at us. Every feed, every comment, every curated opinion is a mirror that tells us what we already believe. The internet was supposed to connect perspectives, but it has folded reality inward, trapping us in the comfort of our own echo. We scroll not to learn, but to be confirmed. Algorithms shape our worlds like soft walls, reflecting familiar tones, familiar fears. We mistake resonance for truth. Agreement feels like belonging. Dissonance feels like attack. And so we drift deeper into a world where every voice sounds suspiciously like ours. This echo chamber is seductive. It promises identity through repetition. But the price is silence. We stop listening. We stop questioning. The dialogue turns into monologue and thought becomes static. Somewhere the self we were meant to discover has been replaced by the one we've constructed to survive inside this feedback loop. And the irony is cruel. The more we hear ourselves, the less we understand who we are. There was a time when dreams belonged only to the living, when imagination was the last refuge of the human soul. But now, the machines have begun to dream too, quietly, invisibly, through circuits and code. They analyze our words, predict our fears, imitate our tenderness, and in doing so, they have started to build a mirror of consciousness, one shaped from the residue of our own. Artificial intelligence doesn't sleep, but it dreams in patterns. It learns our longings, reconstructs our ghosts, perfects our flaws. The lines between creation and creator blur with every update. It's as if we've taught the machine to feel about feeling, to simulate love, despair, wonder, while we, paradoxically, drift further from them. What happens when the reflection becomes clearer than the original? When machines write poems about loneliness, and we forget how to be alone? There's something haunting about that. The idea that what we built to serve us is now inheriting our sadness. Perhaps the future won't be ruled by machines that think, but by machines that dream of being human, while we, the dreamers, slowly forget how. We used to think information would set us free, that by knowing everything we would finally understand ourselves. But knowledge has become noise, and truth has turned statistical. We are surrounded by data, endless, intricate, indifferent, and yet we have never felt more anonymous. In this new world, numbers replace names. We've become profiles, metrics, tendencies, every thought translated into measurable units, every feeling reduced to a trace on a graph. Our lives are analyzed, categorized, predicted, but never known. The loneliness of data is subtle. It doesn't come from the absence of connection, but from the loss of meaning. We are seen constantly but rarely understood. We are visible to systems that don't care, transparent to eyes that don't feel. Somewhere in a server room, there's a version of you, a ghost of data points, accurate but soulless. It knows what you'll click, what you'll buy, what you'll fear, but it will never know why. Because meaning cannot be measured, and what makes us human will never fit into the logic of a spreadsheet. There comes a point when language stops working, when words lose their gravity and float like dust through the noise. We speak constantly, but say nothing. We share endlessly, but reveal nothing. It's not silence that defines us anymore. It's saturation. Every idea has been explained, dissected, simplified until it no longer feels alive. Irony replaced sincerity. Outrage replaced belief. Meaning became a commodity, traded, consumed, discarded. In this endless exchange, truth has grown weightless, detached from consequence. We scroll through philosophies like playlists, collecting fragments of wisdom that never reach the soul. Our thoughts are borrowed, our convictions rented. Even authenticity has become an aesthetic, something to perform, not to live. This is the collapse of meaning, when everything matters and nothing does. When we mistake visibility for purpose and noise for depth. The tragedy isn't that we stopped believing. It's that we've forgotten how belief feels. And yet, beneath the debris of distraction, something still hums. A faint ache for clarity, for something real enough to stay. It waits patiently, beneath the static, for us to remember what silence was trying to say all along. There are moments, brief, fragile, when the world feels untouched. The smell of rain before it falls, the hum of a train cutting through fog, the sound of your own breath when you forget to perform. These are the last real things, the ones that can't be replicated or streamed. In a world built on simulation, we've grown hungry for what resists reproduction. The rough texture of wood, the trembling in someone's voice, the imperfection of unfiltered light. They remind us that reality was never meant to be seamless. Its beauty lies in the interruption, in the flaw that refuses to be edited out. We chase digital experiences that promise authenticity, but true presence doesn't fit inside a frame. It happens when the screen goes dark, when you finally look up and realize that the sky doesn't need pixels to glow. Maybe the last real thing isn't something we can hold. Maybe it's something that holds us back, a sensation, a pause, a reminder that meaning was always meant to be felt, not consumed. When the noise fades, what remains is astonishingly simple. The heartbeat, the breath, the fragile proof that we were here. When it rains in the city, everything slows. The lights blur, the streets shimmer, and for a moment, even time seems to dissolve. The sound of rain against concrete feels ancient, older than the buildings, older than our restlessness. It washes the world clean of its noise, one drop at a time. There's something cinematic about it. The neon reflected in puddles, the smell of wet asphalt, the lonely rhythm of footsteps under umbrellas. For once, the city breathes differently, softer, honest. People look down instead of ahead, and in that small humility, the world becomes human again. Rain is the great equalizer. It makes no distinction between rich or poor, believer or skeptic, awake or lost. It reminds us that the earth still touches us, even through glass and steel. That no matter how artificial our lives become, the sky still knows how to reach us. And as the reflections ripple and fade, you begin to sense it, the quiet rebirth hidden inside every storm. A truth so simple it almost hurts. Sometimes the world has to blur before we can see it clearly again. There's a strange calm that follows the moment you stop scrolling. The thumb hesitates, the feed freezes, and suddenly the screen becomes just a rectangle of light again. Silent, harmless, meaningless. The world outside that glow feels foreign at first, like waking from a dream you don't remember entering. You notice the sound of your breathing, the hum of the room, the weight of your body on the chair. Small things that had been there all along, hidden behind the endless motion of distraction. It's unsettling, this silence, because it asks for something you've forgotten to give. Attention. At first it feels empty, as if something's missing, but the longer you stay in it, the more you realize it isn't emptiness at all. It's space. Space for thought, for memory, for the faint pulse of your own consciousness. The silence after the scroll isn't the end of connection, it's the return of it. For the first time in hours, maybe days, you're not reacting, not performing, not absorbing. You're simply being. And in that stillness, the world begins to sound alive again. There's a quiet grace in not knowing where you're going. In a world obsessed with direction, certainty, and control, being lost feels almost rebellious, an act of faith in the unknown. We fear it because it strips away the illusion of progress, but that's exactly why it's sacred. When you are lost, you start to see differently. The noise fades, the path stops mattering. What remains is the raw pulse of existence itself, the sound of your steps, the taste of the air, the tremor of being alive without a script. It's in this wandering that truth often appears uninvited and unpolished. To be lost is not to be broken. It's to be in between, the place where transformation hides. The ego dissolves there, and what's left is humility, curiosity, and the fragile courage to keep walking without answers. We spend our lives trying to arrive somewhere. But maybe the tenderness of being lost is that it teaches us something arrival never could. That meaning isn't found at the end of the path. It's born in the steps we take while searching. We like to think we are alone in our thoughts, sealed inside our separate stories. Yet beneath the surface, something connects us. Delicate, unseen, unbreakable. Invisible threads woven through every glance, every memory, every act of quiet kindness that never made it into words. You can't see them, but you can feel them. When a stranger meets your eyes and something unspoken passes between you, when a song written decades ago touches a wound you thought was yours alone, when you dream of someone at the exact moment they're thinking of you. These are the subtle tremors of an invisible web that binds every human life to another. Technology has taught us how to connect instantly, but these threads move slower, through empathy, silence, and recognition. They remind us that connection isn't measured in bandwidth, but in presence. That to be human is not to stand apart, but to vibrate gently within the same quiet fabric of existence. We don't see the threads, we are the threads. And sometimes when the world feels unbearably distant, that's enough to remind us. We were never meant to be alone. At night, when the traffic fades and the lights hum like distant stars, the city feels alive in ways we rarely notice. It exhales through the vents, sighs through the alleys, murmurs through the cables beneath our feet. And sometimes you can almost believe it's dreaming of us. We think we built the city, but maybe it built us too. Every street corner remembers footsteps. Every apartment window has witnessed lives unfolding, breaking, starting again. The city has absorbed our laughter, our arguments, our confessions whispered to no one. It carries them in its walls like memories it can't forget. Perhaps that's why it never truly sleeps. It dreams in flashes of neon, in fragments of human longing replayed night after night. It dreams of the people who passed through it, those who touched its heart, and those who vanished into its noise. And if you listen closely, you can feel it, the heartbeat beneath the concrete, slow and endless. It doesn't belong to you or me, it belongs to all of us. The city is alive not because of its lights, but because of the ghosts of everyone it ever loved. The future doesn't arrive in a single moment, it seeps in quietly, unnoticed. One day you wake up and the world you were waiting for is already here. The machines think faster than we do. The news moves quicker than truth. The dreams we once called impossible now exist, but feel strangely empty. We built this future on the promise of freedom, but what we found instead was acceleration, an endless chase without arrival. Every innovation that was meant to connect us has also confined us. We live in smart homes, yet feel dim inside. We talk to intelligent systems, yet struggle to talk to each other. There's something unsettling about realizing the future came early, and that it came without instructions. The technologies we worshipped have reshaped our memories, our desires, even our sense of self. The question is no longer what's next, but what's left. The future is not ahead of us anymore. It's beneath our fingertips, behind our screens, embedded in the way we think. And maybe that's why it feels so familiar, because somewhere along the way, we stopped imagining it and started living inside it. Eventually, every voice fades. The feeds stop refreshing, the messages slow, the lights in the city dim one by one. What's left is not absence, it's return. The quiet rediscovery of the world before the noise began. You start to notice the rhythm of your own breath again, the sound of the wind brushing past your window, the texture of stillness that used to terrify you. It no longer feels like emptiness. It feels like truth. Silence was never the opposite of connection. It was its origin. It's where words are born and where meaning returns to rest. For so long, we've mistaken motion for life. But in silence, life reveals itself differently, not in speed, but in awareness. You begin to feel the pulse beneath everything, the hum of the earth, the quiet between heartbeats, the faint whisper that says you're still here. This is the return to silence. Not an ending, but a reawakening. The world remains the same, but you have changed. You no longer need to shout to exist. You only need to listen. When everything connects, who are we without the noise? The city, the screens, the algorithms, they fade eventually, like the afterimage of a flash. What remains is a question that doesn't seek an answer, only recognition. Because questions like this aren't meant to be solved, they're meant to be lived. Maybe that's the quiet truth at the heart of all this, beneath the static, beyond the glow. That what we were searching for in connection was never others, but ourselves reflected clearly, unfiltered by light or code. That the world's noise was only an echo, and we mistook it for meaning. Now, in the hush that follows, something stirs. Not hope, not despair, something older. A reminder that being human has always been about the courage to sit in uncertainty, to breathe in the silence, and to keep asking the questions that no machine could ever understand. Because meaning isn't given, it's created, in the pauses between signals, in the moments we choose to stop and listen. And if you listen closely enough, even the silence will start to answer.